This is the NEC Classic Motor Show again. This is 2019, and we're going to start with a bit of a tour of the Triumph stands. Where better to start than in some grand tourers known as the Stag, Michelotti's masterpiece. Be a good title for a film, that. Next year it's the 50th anniversary of the Stag, which was launched at Knokke-le-Zout in Belgium along with the Triumph Toledo, which also celebrating its 50th year obviously, and there's actually a really nice Toledo on the Triumph Dolomite stand, which we'll take a look at. Behind the Stag Owners Club is a rather nice club known as the TR Drivers Club. The reason for being of the TR Drivers Club was initially TR6 and TR7 as a breakaway from the TR register, but as time's gone on it's become mainly TR7, TR8 focused. But this year it's the 50th anniversary of the Triumph TR6, which was Michelotti's Starling, which was finished off by Carman. And a certain Gordon Birtwistle went over to pick up the first TR6 to drive it back from Carman. And he was very impressed with the Starling job that was done by Carman, quite rightly. The TR Register have gone for 6 TR6s on their stand, which is rather fitting. And Wayne Scott, the club editor and PR man, he was doing a bit of a guided tour of these cars yesterday, which is probably on Facebook and all sorts of other places, which I must search out and see because I went along and put him off, which is always good fun with Wayne because he's such a good sport.
Right that way, okay, and it causes a real glare, but
the downside of the TR6 was that in 1970 Nissan launched the Datsun 240Z, and immediately the traditional TR was out of date, and that really did force the Bullet project through, which obviously resulted in what we know as the Triumph TR7. The Lynx, which was supposed to take the Datsun 240Z on head-on, never came to fruition, which is such a shame because you look at that car today with the fastback. My God, that was so right. John Ashford, who styled the Lynx, which is a reworking of the TR7, he's actually going to be here at the show tomorrow. Now it's 60 years of the Triumph Herald. I'm sure just about everyone's favourite iteration of the Herald is the original coupe. I think there were only 5,500 of these ever produced. It wasn't a great seller. But contrary to what a lot of people think, you could get a rear seat in the back. But when Michelotti did this original style, the standard Triumph staff then thought maybe we don't need a sports car after all because this is so sporting. But the Spitfire did eventually come along after the Leyland takeover in 1961. This is the Triumph Sport 6 Club stand, and their editor is a chap called Bernard Robinson, and I tell everyone he's one of the very few genuine all-model Triumph enthusiasts that there are. So a real Triumph enthusiast, and who better to have editing a club magazine on Triumphs than someone like Bernard Robinson. When we made Codename Bomb, he was such a great help with that, not least because he has got an amazing Macau Racer replica. And Morley Faulkner has just completed his own Macau Racer replica all the way over in New Zealand. And you'll be able to read all about that in Triumph World in the next issue. I think it's almost as good as Bernard's replica. Right then, the big Triumphs. The Triumph 2.5 2000 2,500 register, and this is a petrol injection, which I believe was 134 bhp, 132, and that is the same engine as when in the TR6. So the 150 bhp claim, cobblers, it was 132, maybe a bit more. This is Martin Johnson Howe's Triumph Gloria. What a great colour scheme. 1934, I believe, isn't it? 1937. Well, it says on the plaque there it's £298, so I think I'll make him an offer. So, this was the biggest selling pre-war Triumph car. This is a Super 7, not to be confused with the Triumph TR7. They have a lot of similarities. Actually, they don't have any similarities except the name. This is a fabric-bodied Super 7 with a dicky seat. And become a very famous car, this one, been in many magazines now. And they sold about 15,000 of these cars before the war, which made up almost half the total of all pre-war Triumphs. So it just shows really how valuable that takeover by Standard in 1944 proved to be, because they'd sell more cars than that in a year very soon. Now this is another fabulous restoration by Rob Green. This is a Triumph Gloria Southern Cross. And I believe it's owned by Steve Jacobs, the editor of the pre-1940 Motor Club magazine. He's also got a Triumph Gloria Monte Carlo, which did actually take part as a works entry in the Monte Carlo. So a real pre-war Triumph enthusiast through and through. The original TR, the Triumph Roadster. And that is where the TR name comes from. It was abbreviated to TR for what was supposed to be the replacement for this Triumph Roadster with the dicky seat. And that was known as a TRX. 3 of them were built. Concealed headlamps, they weren't retractables as most people think. Very electronic, ahead of its time, but unfortunately was that the year, I think that was the year that Jaguar launched the XK120 on a neighbouring stand, so that was the end of that. The result of rethink resulted in the TR2, or Triumph Roadster 2 to give it its full title.
So actually, you hold back.
Hello, we're just admiring your camera.
I'm just admiring your cars. Leaving the Triumph Roadster Club and Club Triumph. This is actually the club that was founded by the Standard Triumph factory. It was a Triumph Sporting Owners Association or something it was called then, I can't remember right now. But this is the original Triumph Club as it is today. And as you can see, they cater for all models of Triumph, like a lot of the clubs do now. But Club Triumph is most famous for its Round Britain reliability run. My idea of hell, to tell you the truth, in 48 hours of non-stop driving, but it is a really popular event, and I've been out to support some of the competitors. Those taking part, probably a better way to put it, but don't fancy doing that Land's End of John Groats in my Triumph. One day maybe. Then we've got the Octagon Car Club, the Morris Garages cars, more commonly known as MG. And then it's the Triumph Dolomite Club. And I recognise this 1850 Dolomite here. It belongs to David Parnell. And this was featured in Triumph World and a Triumph World video about 10 months ago. And been out for a drive in this car, and also his Dolomite Sprint. Next to it is a Dolomite Sprint. The pre-hot hatch road burner. Now then, this is a just finished restored after about 38 years, I believe, Triumph Toledo. So, styled by Dave Keepax with a week of help from Giovanni Michelotti, who came over to the Canley studio because no one would listen to Mr. Keepax that he needed to get the front lower. Michelotti came in and he said, "We need to get the bonnet lower, lower," in his inimitable Italian fashion. And this was the result. Two different styles for what became the Dolomite, and the Toledo had the original 1300 back end, so the shorter tail and those lovely original lights. And you look at that compared to the Dollies, and you can see they're longer. "50 years old next year, this model. So hopefully in the next year or two we'll get a pilgrimage back to Knocker-le-Zoute.
Triumph engines, there is definitely an argument.
One car I really should have drawn attention to is this Triumph Vitesse. Just look at this engine. Doesn't it make you want to spit? The attention to detail in this is just amazing. This must be a real enthusiast who's done this car. With a supercharger. Good grief. And of course, the Triumph Courier. How many of these do you see? Probably half a dozen here in Britain, none in America. And this gold TR7 belongs to Guy Brinton. It was his father's car. It's got a great history to it. Guy loves it. He's got a Grinnell TR7 as well. But funnily enough, we all prefer this gold fixed head. And it's original. And if you ever get the chance to touch the paintwork, you'll just slip off it. That's because he uses dodo juice on it. As he keeps telling me, "You must use dodo juice, young man." And this TR6 here, this was Steve Clare's racing car in the 1980s, and I saw him race this in 1986 at Silverstone, where yet again he just pulverised all the opposition and won the TR Drivers Club Race Championship that year. Now owned by another TR Drivers Club member, and I probably haven't seen it for 20 years. Well, I hope you've liked this little tour of the Triumph Club stands. Anyone who's overseas and fancies coming to a great show in Britain, this is the one to do, but leave yourself enough time for a trip to the British Motor Museum at Gaydon as well, where they've got so many of the Triumph prototypes as well as all the British Leyland marks.